took it, take a left.
You're so
Salisbury.
useful. You're so useful, Roy. Thank you.
I gave you some guidance.
I believe we are recording.
Okay.
So, we'll start the meeting. Couple things, just newsworthy, not newsworthy, but a couple things so you know where everybody is. Russ is not feeling well, so he won't be here this evening. Dana is not available, he's on vacation.
Good Lord.
So it's us. So I'd like to start the meeting. Like to keep it tight to an hour if we could, because I know everybody's got time issues, and I don't think we've got a lot of things to, we've got some things, but not a lot of things that take us over. I'd like to mention something first. We talked as a board, and we had some people approach us on to dig or not to dig wells. And I know there's passions in here about that on, I'm not going to say either sides of the table, but amongst the group. But in consideration of that, and some of the things we were thinking about doing with that, we spoke with our legal counsel, and we're still in discussions with him. Margot is on vacation, and Ben, as you know, works out of town. So we haven't had a group opportunity to sit down as a threesome to talk about, as the board, the suggestions and recommendations of the attorney to bring back to you folks. So we want to do it as a group. We feel it's only appropriate we do it as a group. So bear with us till the next meeting. And I would ask, I know Peg's going to do a presentation, but I would ask tonight that we not get involved in discussion about whether or whether or not we should do that. We'll be able to bring some information back to both sides of the thought process next time around. We want to be able to really review what he has said so we can do that appropriately and efficiently, if that makes sense to you. So it involves some concerns, and we were going to have Roy go down and do some work, but I know Russ spoke to you.
Yes,
Discuss
Russ
it.
gave me a call.
So we're just going to go on holding pattern on that. Doesn't make a problem with anything. I did speak with Emmett. Emmett has, just to give you an update, Emmett isn't here, he couldn't make it this evening, but he did tell me he's contacted somebody, and maybe you know more about this than I do, to take the brush down behind the firehouse.
Great.
And he gave me an approximate. I don't want to state that publicly tonight because it's not in a, it's not, but it sounded pretty reasonable. So he's got somebody that he knows. Do you know anything about that, Addie?
I bits and pieces.
Yeah, okay. And he and I talked in passing, but he was pretty happy that he was able to get somebody he thinks can do it for a reasonable price. And the board agrees on it. My two colleagues agree on that we should get that all knocked down so we can see what we're talking about.
But what all is going to get knocked down? Is it going to be just the area that we're looking at for the
Right.
salt shed?
Well, beyond the area, because you've got to, get that parking around it to be able to operate the equipment around it. So
Right.
I don't know what the footage is, Chris. That's why I wish Emmett was here to answer the question.
I think it's 6.5 acres.
Okay, that's
6.5.
quite a big piece.
Yeah.
That's a big piece.
That is a big
Yeah.
piece.
But it opens it up.
Okay, it sure does.
Does that bring it right back to that wetland?
I would
piece?
assume it
Oh, yeah.
probably is
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
close to it.
And all the way
I would say
south to the rock wall?
All the stuff basically that we walked that day, probably.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's what I was figuring.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay? The only other thing I'd like to ask you is to take a look at the draft minutes and somebody make a motion to accept those. If you haven't already had that. Oh, one other thing. Dana, I'm sorry, I mean to keep jumping around. Dana has put out the RFP. He has asked for Scott's eyeball on it, Peg, down at UNH.
Beautiful.
And he will have that back to us by the end of this week or early next week when Dana returns. Just so you know, there's been
Beautiful.
progress in many ways. So if you folks would just take a look at those minutes, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I read through these and I don't have a problem with them.
Okay, how
'cause
about all
I
the
read
rest
through
of them?
those electronically.
How about all the rest of the committee folks? Anybody
Just
have?
a second.
Yep.
So the, under engineering request for proposal, That's what you were just referring
Yes.
to, John?
Yes.
Okay, so, it doesn't actually indicate, to whom that went. And I remember when I was reading this over, that was a question that I had.
Mhm.
I didn't know.
Well, let me make a note and I'll try to get that answer for you.
And on that note.
I'm not sure it went to, I mean, other than Scott Kim, let me just give you my headset. I'm not sure it went to any one company, because I think what Dana wants is to get Scott to look at it, them to come to an agreement, and probably to show it to you folks or us to see the board with it,
Yeah,
and then put it out to vendors. If you know what I'm saying.
yeah.
Am I misunderstanding?
No, you're not. I
Okay,
just think
okay.
that it would be good to have in the record to whom he sent that. So-
When, oh,
Sent it to Scott at UNH.
he did, right here, Chris, he put a letter to me. Look on the back of the page.
Oh, okay.
I didn't point that out to you, my mistake.
Okay.
I spoke with Scott Kinman at UNH Technology, asked him to look at the RFP. And in that vein, I had brought this to the group probably 3 or 4 meetings ago. I got this from Scott. This is the list of vendors that he's aware of that have actually built salt sheds before, that have experience and have done it. There's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, seven that he put together. And then on page 3 of that, there's a suggested approach for the town's RFP, which I think we've covered
Yep.
pretty well. And then on the last page, it has what's called recommended questions to ask consultants. An example would be, have you designed salt shed buildings for municipalities before? Do you provide both structural and site engineering, blah, 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 blah. There's a bulleted list. So this is right from, so I'm just gonna give that to you.
Mine is probably home, but thank you. If you brought it
And
to
I
me.
know Russ has that electronically, but because you're gonna be talking
Yep.
about it, those are some contractors that we may wanna send the RFP
Mm-hmm.
to get, there's 7 of them right there, you can mail them out to, and then anywhere else. you know.
Dana did say he had a good conversation with Scott. Scott is going to come over and work with us as a group, look at the sites. I mean, it was all positive, so it wasn't,
Could I get a copy of that?
which,
That's it's on the website on all the documents.
Oh, okay.
If you
okay.
go back to, it's either the 2nd or 3rd meeting, it was after I did that first presentation telling you
Yes.
guys that I had talked
Yeah.
to Scott.
well, I will give this to Russ and ask him to answer.
And I just printed it out so I'd have a
Thank you.
copy. So, since that's kind of on the agenda.
I'm sure mine's home in my pocket.
There is a list of about 10 or so engineering companies that are approved by the state for municipalities.
Perfect.
And probably all of those would get, and I think that is overlaps with your list.
Perfect.
Okay, great.
That's a good start then.
But I'll get him to, I'll ask him to make some copies of that for us.
Do any, is
Sir,
there any listings of where they've done them?
Well, that, they would,
this is your list. I'll let you, have you answer that question.
when,
You know,
when
does
they, when they.
Company A done one in
It's a good point.
Meredith? And, well, style, right?
When- When they submit their bid.
Yes, it is. So,
At that
for
point,
example-
they would say, here's what we've done. They would qualify that.
For example, I'll just pick one, Summit Engineering, blah, 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 blah. Summit Engineering has direct experience designing facilities in New Hampshire, including projects in Rochester, Belmont, Cornish, and Franconia. So yeah, these guys have a list, and then we can ask them that question too. So some of them have them listed, and then for those that don't, we'll ask them where they've done it and give us pictures of what they've done.
Okay, I just wanted to go over the, thank you for providing that additional. I just wanted to go over this preliminary thing so everybody sort of understood the format of tonight. Peg, you,
Do you want to accept the minutes?
oh, I'm sorry, thank you. Can we accept the minutes? Anybody want to make a motion?
I move to accept the minutes.
Okay.
As amended with the
Yes.
Scott.
Yep.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you. Anybody like to second that? Thank you. What's your first name? You never come to me.
Hey, Craig.
Greg, I'm sorry. I want to call you Greg though. I'm really wrong. Thank you. Okay. Beck, you're up.
You gotta vote on it now.
Okay, we've taken a vote on it.
That's correct.
All in favor?
Everyone accept the minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long day, folks.
Okay,
Thank you.
so moving right along, I have spent the last 2 weeks poring over data, and I even went up to the state and went into the archives and looked at what they had paper-wise. Just so you know, a lot of the archives they've been working on them for years to digitize all of these and get them into our one-stop database. So all of the data out there is not available electronically. They're working on the backlog. They're probably gonna be working on it for the next 20 years. So what I've done is I've distilled the data down to just some stuff that we can look at tonight. And the number one takeaway is that as far as the well behind the elementary school, I did not find one data point that met the drinking water standard, the EPA drinking water standard, or chloride or sodium. There isn't a standard for specific conductance. The standard for chloride is a recommended standard. So I passed along the data. I can provide more copies of this for here's another copy, because I have mine right here. And I also printed out a couple of pictures of where the well is. And we may have to pass this around. What I'm gonna do is just I'll circle this on the map, pass that around. This is on the first table there, when it says Webster Elementary Well 24650100001, that's the well behind the school. It's approximately 288 feet from the old Webster Elementary School. It's literally right behind where their gym is there. So you can pass that map around.
I will.
So what I did was, in this compilation, this is all drinking water data. There's different standards for ambient water quality in rivers, lakes, and ponds, but then there's, we've got to focus on the drinking water. So, I didn't want to compile, 18 pages of data for you guys. So I distilled it down to the drinking water. On this table, I went back to 1995 for the well, and then for the well data, and then the table below is the actual, either the boiler room or the nurse's office. That's the drinking water coming right out of the tap. I went back to 1992. There are records that go back in the archives, back into the 80s. But if you want me to compile more, I will, but I felt like this was plenty. What I think the main thing to take away from this is that the chloride standard is 250. It's an EPA drinking water standard of 250 milligrams per liter or parts per million. And in the well, there wasn't a sample that came back below 1,000. And this goes back to 95. It appears they stopped sampling that well in 2004. They used Nelson Laboratory, and so Nelson Labs might have more well data somewhere, but I was contacting everybody facilities-wise for the school board, the Merrimack Valley School Board, and they couldn't find anything. So that's the best we could do there. And so, you can see the chloride's well over 1,000, so it's, more than 4 times higher than what it should be. And the sodium, the recommended standard is 20. All of the numbers are coming back in the high 200s, 300s. So you're talking, 10 times higher than it should be. So this shouldn't be a big revelation for everybody. And then they are required to test the drinking water annually for certain things and triannually for other things. There's reams and reams and reams of data on, bacteria analysis and PFAS and all that. The standard chemical analysis only has to be done every 3 years. So that's why you see the data spread out in 3-year blocks. We seem to be missing pre-1992, and there doesn't seem to be anything. No one can find the 2022 data.
That'd be because of COVID, maybe?
No, I think it's because they're required to test it, COVID or nothing, that has nothing to do with it. I think that there's been a change in the facilities director at the school district, so he did the best he could, trying to track down data for me. And we do still have a call into Nelson Labs, who seem to do most of their drinking water stuff. So if they have more data, they know to send it to me. I'll add it to my Excel spreadsheets and I can update the table. But I think it's, the numbers kind of speak for themselves. So unless does anybody have any questions on the data or how I've compiled
No,
it or when it needs?
What's the takeaway here? How does this relate to the solution?
Well, it relates to the salt shed project because I was asked to go compile all the data we had on the well in the aquifer. So that's how it relates. How you want to use it is up to you.
Yeah.
But, I was asked to compile the data, and so I did that. And I think what it's showing is that, the groundwater aquifer in the well is contaminated.
Okay.
So in my opinion, I don't think we need to drill any new wells anywhere and do any more testing, because this well is approximately about 300 feet where you'd probably drill another well, even if you need to do that. And I think that's all a moot point anyway. So in my opinion, I think it's always good to just look at the data you have before you're gonna go spend $15,000 getting more data. I think if we do that, it's just gonna tell us more of what we already know, that it's contaminated. And the mission of this group is to look at the options for moving it. So I understand that's the focus, but how this relates is I was asked to do it, and so I did it.
Well, for starters, you've got a schoolyard that's been heavily salted for years over there. The driveway plus out back, and there's no proof that that's coming from the salt shed. And Fred Regan, if he was still there, he would tell you that when they drilled those two test wells, one was 10 feet off the edge of that 127, the other one's right on the back side of that loop, and that's right next to the road.
Okay.
So, and then how about the houses around us? Test their water, because I'd like to see what's in their water. Starting right here.
And so, I'm not gonna comment on that. I've stated
Well,
my
that's-
position on it.
I'm giving you mine.
Yep, I mean, that's good.
All good information.
Can I ask a question?
Well,
Yeah.
Okay. I have to agree with Addie to a point. This well, do we know if it goes down to the actual aquifer, down into the water that's below there,
Yeah.
that's on the map?
Mhm.
Or is it down just so far in the water up above through the rocks is filling up that?
Yeah, how
Well,
far's your case?
You follow what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
how deep is your case?
How deep is it? How deep is the actual aquifer
Okay, so,
down?
that's a good question. So, I'd have to go back to the original data sheets and I can get you the depth of the well. I can tell you that the well is testing the stratified drift aquifer. So a stratified drift aquifer is a higher elevation aquifer underground than like a deep groundwater well.
Correct.
So this is slightly higher than like a well that you'd have to drill down 300, 400, 500 feet to get. Stratified drift aquifer wells are typically higher elevation.
Yep.
So I can come back next meeting and get you the depth of the well data. But I
Okay.
can tell you that it's testing the aquifer. It's not testing surface water.
Correct,
Right.
correct. But like the map that I got from you,
Yep,
where it shows the aquifer here,
yep.
do we know what that depth is on that?
I'll get that information for you.
You follow what I'm saying? Because
do.
I'm wondering, Addie had brought up that point. Is the salt working its way down through the ground to create the problem with this well? and the well on this side, because I remember a couple of weeks ago, I asked about the well here, not a problem.
Right.
Same thing with next door. So I'm wondering if possibly it's not coming from the shed, working that way. But, you know, the big thing you're working on is getting that out of there, up on the hill.
That's our mission.
Okay, that's your mission.
Right.
That's correct.
That's the mission. But, you know, if we're worried about the aquifer, that's, how can I phrase it? That's the second bullet point. First bullet point, get the shed up on the hill.
Okay, so I will get the depth of the well. I'll see if the groundwater bureau has any information about the depth of the volume of the aquifer itself, and I'll bring that to you next meeting.
And that is a lot of work, Peg, so thank you for doing
Yeah, my pleasure.
I would like to just make sure that we're not going a little bit off base, focusing on the well. The well is sort of the past history of what's gone on there. And what we want to do is move into the future and figure out how we can best.
Until you drill a well over there, you don't know what's going on with that ground at all. You don't
I
know.
disagree, but that's okay.
Well, I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
the pine trees over there, when you get walking around, they're healthy. You get out on the back side of that shed, you've got green vegetation, and you've got pines growing there. If that salt was that bad, it'd be brown, and that's fact.
I would just say, let's just move the point here.
Yeah, let's move the
Well,
ball.
We've got a big report
Okay,
that Peg is
let me
done.
say this, there are passions, what I'm very careful not saying, and I'm not gonna say, is we're not taking sides. I don't mean that either of you are, I'm just saying, there are passions on the issue, on two aspects of it, whether we do or whether we don't put in the wells. That's what we're gonna be discussing as a board, just so you know, that's what we're gonna be talking about. So it's not unforgotten, and but I don't really wanna get down into the weeds of it tonight.
Right.
I don't think that's the purpose of this committee.
No.
Our salt shed committee was designed to look at options for putting a new salt shed behind the fire department. So I think this is a completely separate but related,
Right.
it's related because, you know, we're talking about the old salt shed, but the purpose of this committee is to focus on gathering information about building a new salt shed behind the fire department. So me personally, I'll get you the aquifer information, and I'm done.
Yeah.
If anybody else wants to get more information on wells or whatever,
And you did a nice job.
then have at it.
One of
It's,
the points the board is
it's not our
contending
job.
with, but one of the points we all have to think about is how much is this going to cost us? And we haven't heard $1 yet, and I mean that with sincerity. We need to get that RFP out and see from these firms what this is gonna cost. Are we gonna go, as some people have suggested, with a cement, wood roof, or are we going to go, and I'm not putting Emmett on the spot here, but with a building like Emmett is, which in my opinion, which means nothing, I'm just here to sort of keep the peace, in my opinion, might be a very inexpensive, appropriate alternative.
I agree.
I'm not adversarial to that. I've heard Emmett talk about it, I've watched them put it up. We'd have to put cement size up, but that's not what we're discussing tonight. But we do need to find out, well, you gotta get that RFP up there, we gotta get that chopped down so we see what we're looking at. And if and when we, and how we do, move that up there, try to do it in the most economical way for the community. Because I've had people come up to me and say, how much is this gonna cost? And it's a little embarrassing, but I can't tell them. Because I don't know. So,
Yeah, we haven't
you know, I
gotten
think
there
we as a
yet.
group need to get that number. Then we can sort of have these discussions as, is it worthy and is it too expensive at this point in time for the community, which we need to think about in this economy? Should we do it this year or next year, maybe the third year? Or is it something we might not want to do and look at maybe an alternative? And I'm not taking sides with either side of that. I'm just saying that there are passions on both sides of that road. So I just want everybody to be respectful of how everybody thinks.
And I'm just gonna add one last thing
Sure.
to that so we can move past the point, is 2 meetings ago, I was asked to contact DES and get all kinds of information about permitting and what we would have to do to build the new shed and, you know, if we were even gonna entertain repairing the old shed. And it was quite evident that and we talked about this 2 meetings ago, so I don't know why we keep talking about it, but, up in the new spot, we're gonna need an alteration of terrain permit, because it's gonna disturb over 100,000 square feet. If we build this right, we won't need a wetlands permit, because there will be no wetlands impact. So that's all you're basically gonna need, is your alteration of terrain permit. If you disturb the area over there and try to rebuild it to the specifications that a salt shed should be now with your containment area, you won't meet the criteria to get your alteration of terrain. You'll have to get an alteration of terrain permit, but you won't meet the criteria to get the shoreland protection and your wetland protection. And because of the way the rules have changed and the criteria that you have to meet, it's not a feasible thing to rebuild it, the way the rules are. And if you restore something in kind and do nothing more than repair the building, that's different. But if you're gonna do anything over there to make it function the way a salt shed should, to capture your runoff and do your big impervious surface of pavement underneath it, you're gonna need an alteration of terrain permit, and I literally spoke to the administrator of the Bureau. Okay, that's like the president of the Bureau, the person who is the supervisor of the 40 people that work there. And I know these people, and I double-checked what the laws say now and what you can and can't do, and we won't meet the criteria. So I think it's a moot point, and I think we talked about that a couple meetings ago. So personally, I'm just gonna say in the meeting that Peg's mind is done with that piece of it. I'm not gonna spend any more time or energy with that. My focus is on the new space and the new space only.
Yep. All right, respect that.
Over here, you're gonna have to fix it before winter, the back wall.
Well, that's where we're going, sir.
You've gotta do something with that. I scoped it out.
Well, wait a minute, you're next on the list here, so let's
Yeah.
go to you, and let's talk about what we need to do to make that winter worthy for this winter, because this isn't gonna be done this winter, so
No.
we gotta do something.
You're gonna have to do something for the
Right.
wall right off.
What
What I think that probably we should do is to take in so it's not going any further back, and putting in the braces that they had, pour a concrete wall 8 feet high, and cut the poles off, set the shed back down on, you won't be lifting it up, you're just gonna be pouring a wall, getting it so you can push against it, put some pilasters in it so it's not going anywhere, and that would cure the problem of what you got.
And that would be considered a repair. Right?
Repair.
Yeah, if you repair it, then you're fine.
That's
If
what
you
we'll be
change
doing.
the shape, the configuration, the size, any of that,
Yeah, I'm
you
not
don't- you're
talking
fine.
about changing the size, I'm just
Yeah.
saying,
No,
repair what you
repairs
got there
don't need-
with pilasters, so when you're pushing up, it's not gonna go anywhere,
What-
and
What about that idea we had last meeting of putting those concrete,
I got looking at it, the trouble with that is you're gonna have water coming off your roof, splashing down, gonna be coming back inside of it. That's not gonna work either. It's just not. They poured a big concrete pad, the whole length of that, where the braces were going into it. And you'd have to if you wanted to do that road, you'd have to dig that out. This way here, you're not touching it, just leave the pad alone, and you're gonna dig right the salt shed, and pour a wall, and be done with it. What do you think, Ken? That sound reasonable?
Well, after exploring, because I went down there and
Yeah.
explored too, that back wall, after
Yeah.
the stock wall, after
Yeah.
the stack wall thing.
Not gonna work.
Unless you extend the eaves,
Yeah,
and then
Yeah, and
then you're changing the shape of the
yeah,
building.
you just leave
Then you can't-
it,
She's right on
well,
the permit.
leave it
stuff.
alone there, and then down the road, when it comes time that you got to have a new shed, that building will be good enough that you could put your plows, your sanders, all your stuff undercover. It's not gonna go anywhere, it's been there for all these years, and it's not headed anyway.
And that
So
would-
you could store equipment down there.
That's what I mean. You
Yeah.
could use
Yeah.
that building. Don't take it down, fix
Yeah.
it so it stands, and down the road, because you're gonna be a couple of years before you get any of this stuff in the works.
So, I mean, that sounds, I'm sorry, Kevin. Sure.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, so I have a comment about the impervious surface. When, do we have records of when that building was made and how it was made?
Yep.
In the 90s.
Right, so
Well, it depends on who you talk to.
it seems like,
Um,
the reason the salt shed got pushed was because people were told that the salt at the school was bad. Because of the salt shed,
Presumably.
right? But if that has been on an impervious surface since, that's why I asked the question what year, the salt is not making it into the ground.
I've not been down to look at it. Is it on cement?
But we,
Oh, you got pavement there. It's.
you could figure that out with soil
You
samples
could, yeah, that's exactly
Well,
correct.
let me be truthful.
as well,
As
right?
I always am, let me be true. We had a discussion, Mr. Mock and I did, and the town administrator and I, about taking soil samples instead of putting wells in. And I put that out to a couple other people, and Dana this was the day before Dana was going on vacation, so with respect to Dana, he didn't have a chance to, but we were talking about possibly taking soil samples, and I had a younger citizen, person that lives in the area here, come up to me and say, I'm listening to some of this stuff, how about, I know a company down in Concord, how about you guys think about, you guys, you folks in the committee, think about taking soil samples, keeping the expense down and take some, because that would show Dana is looking into that, okay, and that's another aspect of, again, one of my chair is out of town, our chair is out of town, and, you know, it's not the most, we can't have meetings over phones, so we have to meet, you know what I'm saying, as a group. So we're gonna be discussing that too. We haven't lost sight of it. And that, and Andy and I have had a discussion, we've kind of negotiated through that a little bit, and I think maybe we might be able to come, if we go that route, we need to look at some legal issues here. If we go that route, that might be a negotiable instead of a well. You guys are in the business, I'm just a dumb cop, okay? So I'm not saying that to be a jerk, I'm just, you guys
So
are
when we start
professionals.
right, I work for DOT in many facilities, so when we start a project, to build a brand new facility, because we have our own core drilling guys and our
Right.
own labs,
Yeah.
right? So in comes the equipment, this is how deep, all this, and we have soil samples of what we're working with before it even begins to go out to bid to a contractor to build us a new facility. But they can test for anything.
You're right, and I'm not an environmental engineer, and I'll say that to anybody. I'm learning a lot sitting amongst everybody here. Roy, I see you, I'll get to you. Go ahead.
There's the gentleman that we met down at Winnepocket
Yep,
that talked. I believe you know him, Peg. He said that we could put some type of a dye over there.
Yeah, okay, that's Steve Landry, and they do dye tracing, they flush it down toilets and stuff to see. They use that with
Septic systems, but
septic systems and stuff like that. That's not,
he thought that we could possibly do that, but it would take almost a year, I think,
yeah,
for it to work down in, and then you did the
Yeah.
ground samples.
yeah. So there's a dye, a flushable dye that you can put down people's toilets. We use it around the lakes and ponds to see if a septic system is failing or not. And then you go around the shoreline with a meter, and it's a invisible dye, but the meter can read it, okay? It's one of these things that optically you can't see it, but the probe can see it. So we can go along the shoreline and, you know, we have, so you're looking for a
Yeah.
leach field that's not working.
Yeah, but he was saying that in
That's
the
not,
ground you could find it.
yeah, so you don't have a flushable toilet over there.
Yeah.
You don't have a well in the ground. Even if you did that, that's not the type of thing you put down a well. It's a test that you do on the surface of the land to see
Yeah.
if septic systems are failing. So I know exactly what he's talking about because I've been the one in the meter, in the boat with the meter. Okay, so I'm very, very familiar with this work. So in this application, it
It-
makes no sense to do it because
Okay.
we don't have the well and we're not, it's not the appropriate tests to do.
So with that being said, again, another presentation of something that might not work too. I think we, on the soil sample thing, we want to talk about it. Let's see what Dana comes back with. You and I have talked about it.
Yeah.
We seem to, just tell me straight up.
Yeah.
I think you and I agree on it. And we talked about, a young woman that came up to me, and bear with me, we're a committee here, we all know each other, we're all friends with the Labors. I say that because I don't want you to think I'm going off the street here. It might sound it, but I don't mean it. She said, you need to think of something. And you know, sometimes I need to listen to millenniums and exes, okay? I'm a baby boomer. And she said, you got two different contentions within that committee. You got one, and with respect, you got one that wants to get that salt shed up there, and you got some other members that are very, very impartial, if not somewhat resistant to that. She says, and what it develops to the viewer's eye, not people sitting in the committee, what it develops to the viewer's eye is there's a little bias on either side. And she said, why don't you guys get someone that has nothing to do with that side of the table or that side of the table to go in there and take some soil samples, who's a responsive, reputable, reasonably priced person, who can come back and say yay and nay. And I said, well, that's a good thought. So I came back to Dana, and this person is an educated, well-employed person in our community. I'm not going to mention her name, but she's made some other suggestions, which have been good suggestions. Came back to Dana and I said, you know, this is the rationale that people are looking at us with. Eddie and I had a discussion about it right in the middle of Allen Road, and I think we came to some negotiable thought processes with it. So let's let Dana look into it. Let's see how much it would cost. Whether it proves yay or nay, it really doesn't matter. It takes away any bias the community might be seeing. And bias is maybe a bad term, but any disagreement, any dissonance, it brings us to a point where we can say there's nothing in that ground, or there is. And I personally think we're going to come up, it's my opinion, I personally think we're going to see something. But that doesn't mean I'm against doing something to keep the entire committee moving in the right direction.
I have a question, and Peg, maybe the question is to you. I don't quite understand why a soil sample would help us move the salt shed to a different location. What is the purpose of?
It would tell you if you got salt or problems with it.
Well, we know we have
That's-
salt.
Well, you don't know. You're going by, you don't know. You don't have any samples, you don't know what you got. You could go up to this new site, okay? I cleared that firehouse up when I cut those trees, I cleared that. Mud was that deep, from the floor to here, right to the bottom of the doors of the skidder. We built the firehouse there. How many times have we fixed that driveway? 3 times we fixed that driveway. And now we're gonna go up on top of that hill, and you're gonna be into the same thing. What do you think that's gonna cost?
Well, can I respond to that? The firehouse is at the
It-
lower end of the hill, and we're talking about
It
putting the
was-
bottom excuse me if I could
Go
respond.
for it.
We're talking about putting the building at the top of the hill, so the drainage is coming down. So that makes sense to me that you find water at a lower spot than the top of the hill. This is literally the crest, or very close to the, highest elevation point up there. I have the soils maps with me, if you want to
Yeah.
take a look at them. They're all rocky sandy. There's no wetland soils identified in there. It's all rocky sandy. And I brought those to the last meeting.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, that that's a buildable site and whatnot. So I guess to kind of reiterate and maybe respond to your question about the soil sample, the soil samples would tell you if there's a problem there or not.
We're down here though, we're talking about down
Right,
here.
right. That's why I'm responding to your comment about the soil samples, like why would we be taking them, to what end? So let's say we find there's not a problem there. Well, whether there is or there isn't, you know, I understand, you know, more data is good, and I'm a data-driven person, so I'm not gonna tell you not to do testing or sampling, because I built my whole career around it. But you also wanna have a reason for doing the testing and spending the money. So if you can't get a permit to, you know, rebuild the facility, then to what end are we spending that money to confirm whether or not there's a problem there? And again, I'd like to separate these two things into two projects. I think this committee, and it says right in our mission statement, that this committee's focus is to weigh all the options of building a shed up there. It's not that I want one, it's what we were asked to do. This is the job we're asked to do. So we were asked to look at all the options, find out how much something like this would cost, so we have something to bring to the town in our next town meeting. That's our whole mission. So we're information gathering, and if you look at the mission statement of this committee, that's what we're supposed to be doing. So at this point, I think that, you know, maybe we should, if you want to have a subcommittee, look into that, fine, but this committee that's not the mission. So unless I'm totally misinterpreting what the mission was that we wrote
Well,
on meeting 2.
I respond to you this way. We need to get a consensus. We have come from way over here to about here. I'd like to see us get to here. I'm to see. Addie wanted the wells. With respect to Addie and I had a good discussion. I'm between you and Addie. I'm not against the wells, but I'm not sure the wells are gonna show us anything other than that salt. But I don't know that, because I can't answer his question. And you or I can, how do we know that particular? The other thing I see and other people say to me is, look at the salt trucks and everything else that turns around here, look at the salting in the school. And then I have, again, everybody brings expertise to this. Probably I'm the one with the least expertise on salt and environmental, issues. Gentleman over here works in the state, just made a good point. I didn't realize it had a cement, I thought it was on dirt. And I've seen Emmett for years, I haven't visited the salt shed, I'm gonna have to. But we got a no trespassing sign up, and I'm gonna do it appropriately. I'm gonna get with the town manager, or Addie or Emmett, probably Emmett, so just take me down and show me. Okay, show me, maybe have Addie and Dana there at the same time to show Dana and I what needs to be done with this wall. So I can say to my committee members, my select board members, we need to temporarily fix it and put this money into it to get us through the winter, to keep the people there safe and keep the salt shed safe from falling in from our luck, a 4-foot snowstorm, where, you know what I'm trying to say, all the things.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
To the points that you made, keeping it within the structure of the current shed, not expanding it.
With no intentions of.
No, I know, man, Eric.
Yeah, I'm just
I'm a believer.
pointing that out. We're
No,
just
you did.
repairing what you got.
I know you said that, and
That's-
I'm not saying you are intending to do anything aggressive. So, I would say this, I'll offer this to you. Let's get that RFP done. Let's find out, the next hurdle we're gonna get over, bear with me, is how much this is gonna cost us. And people keep coming up to me and saying, move the salt shed, and then I have other people truthfully coming up to me and saying, my grandkid's gonna be paying for this. And I'm gonna say publicly, I don't think, and I mean this with respect, I don't have children, but I mean this with respecting all families, is that I'm not sure I want to make my decision on not moving a community forward because of children and grandchildren and that. I respect that sentiment, but I think sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet and move the community forward. And so I just want you to understand, my head says that, but I have to be a good listener, and I have to be supportive. We have to be supportive as a board. It's about the town, it's about the people in the town. You've done some great work. And I think we need to go right down the middle of the road with everything, everybody's said and done here, find out how much the cost is, see what Dana can find out, to come back to the committee about these soil. They might not even be able to do it, we don't know that. I mean, some people here might be right, yeah, they'll take some soil samples, but what do you see? You know more about that than I do. But if they could say we can take some soil samples and let you know, then that at least says, Addie, we don't have a problem, Addie, we have a problem, or members of the committee that think that we don't have a problem, for whatever reason, much like the evidence that there really isn't evidence there that we do have a problem in that point. But what you brought forward shows that there is evidence that there's a problem 300 feet from it, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, and with all sampling, you have to have a sampling plan. So if you're gonna do that, you have identified sites that should be sampled at, you know, what depth, for what parameter, at what time of the year. We have 4 seasons. So there's more to it than just going down and taking a soil sample. Just like you don't go down and take a water sample and say that's representative of your lake. It's just not. So it's more than that. You don't just take one sample and say, okay, there's your answer.
No, I'm sure it
You'd
isn't.
have to look at the whole plot plan, and again, that's a whole nother body of work that I don't think this committee was commissioned to do as far as our mission statement. We can change what our mission statement is and create a subcommittee for it, but
Would you agree with me, though, that, bear with me, I'm not trying to be a rhetorical arguer, I'm not even trying to argue.
yeah,
It might sound it. But we have a mission to the citizens of the town. And I can't go for a jog but when I have somebody about this salt shed. And with respect to the people who do, I have no problem with people stopping me and talking. That's what I'm about. But I can't go for a jog and go around this town and go down and get a coffee down here at the cafe in Tookie without saying, what's the story on the salt shed?
right.
And, you know, the burden's on my back, and my board members have put it on my back, and I took the responsibility, and it's on your back, and it's on Eddie Mock's back, and everybody's sitting at this table. So all I want to do is make sure that we're making good decisions, and we can answer questions. And there's 3 questions right now I can't answer, and that is there salt at that shed? It's in the ground, and there's a problem. You have made me believe there is, but I don't have evidence at that particular site. Number 2, how much is this going to cost us? I'd like to see us go to town meeting this year and say, we have worked diligently as a committee, and we have done some great work. The people on this committee who are very knowledgeable have done some great work. We propose the following structure to be placed behind the fire police building at this price. It's a price we can afford and substantiate what we can afford. My fear is, if we don't do our due diligence and answer the question, I'm going to use the term, and then you're all good people, but some people see projects and they get into a mode with it that we don't want to move this forward, it's going to cost money. Well, we know it's going to cost money. But I want to be able to answer those questions. And all I ask is we as a committee work together to do that. I don't want to get into multi-missions. I respect what you're saying and hear what you're saying. But I think cost, soil samples might not work, and then those things brought to our attention by the attorney when asked some questions that we want to talk to as a board in non-public session because they're legal issues, they then come back to you folks and make you part of that discussion. I think those are 3 reasonable things in the next 2 weeks that I'd like to see us get done. And have Dana come back, RFP come back to Dana and get that thing out there so we can get you folks, get us as a committee some information on who will come and do this, who will be involved, who will come here and look at the site, and then give Emmett the opportunity to get that site cut down. Emmett, he didn't give me a direct price, and I really, but it's below 10 grand when we started. So there were some things, you know, and there's money in there to do that. And I think this preliminaries, my term, preliminaries managerially that we need to do. So we have those answers answered, and you know, and I respect, I respect you, I respect everybody in between. My mission is to get that up there too, but I want to make sure we can answer the questions. This is 2 or 3 questions I, as a board member, when people approach me, can't answer. And I have been asked, Peg, to be truthful with you, well, what's the salt report at the building? And I said, we can't answer that. I said, I can answer what it is. What is the salt content at the building, right in front of? I said, I can't answer that. I said, but I can tell you we've had a committee member, and I obviously give you the value of doing that, who has done a lot of work to tell us what it is 300 feet from the site. Then people come back at me, as we come back at each other, respectfully, and say, well, you know, the salt truck goes around that school 6 times a day, because they don't want a kid falling on his or her self and hurting themselves, which is a big liability. I've been in that world, as you know. So all I'm saying is that I just want to make sure we're giving clear, concise information, working as a team. get a number from Addie and Emmett as to how much that cement's gonna cost us in doing that. And if you guys are gonna do it, who's gonna do it?
He's looking into it, Sonny's looking into
Yeah.
it, getting him a price.
Okay.
He's looked at it, and,
And you and Emmett are gonna do it, is that what I'm hearing?
what's that?
Are you and Emmett gonna do it?
No, Sonny's gonna, and Emmett, I'm just.
Sonny, just so that people know, who's Sonny?
Sonny Heat, Kearsarge Concrete.
Kearsarge
Up
Concrete.
south.
Does everything, so, and a reasonable company, so I mean,
Yep,
I'm sure they'll be good to us, come back at us with a number,
Yeah.
and get that done so we can get through the year, and, you know,
we checked it all out, how we thought that it would work and be not too
Yep.
bad to fix.
oh, I'm sure you did, I don't
Yeah.
question that at all.
Yeah,
My goal is to get to town meeting, present the town, our goal as a board, with your help, is to get to town meeting, present a project that the town can afford. I won't hear people raising their hand and say, you mean my granddaughter's gonna be paying for this, 'cause, yeah, whether it's righteous or not, it's still a point. And people have it there. I want to diminish those points and get there where we can have a building that we can do it.
I would just add to all of this that this, whatever has been going on at the salt shed site has been going on for years, decades. And, Emmett has told me, in terms of remediating that site, how thick the pollution is, the vehicles and stuff that are buried under this. I mean, it's a mess over there.
Wow.
And this is a project that the town has known for years and years and years needed to be addressed, and hasn't addressed it until now. This is our time to do this. I can't stress enough how I think that what Peg was saying about an ancillary subcommittee, and maybe there's an entirely different bunch of people that want to look into doing the salt shed, helping the salt shed out. I'm really not concerned with that. I really am concerned with the prices and the everything that we can do to get the salt shed moved, because that's what the people want. Surely there are going to be some people that are going to worry about their grandchildren, but with PFAS and the problems that we're facing with PFAS, we're all in it together.
The grandchildren are sitting in the school over here, so there are two worries. There's the worry you just mentioned, and there's the worry of if there is something there, how is it affecting the school more than what we know it is, okay?
You mean
We're saying the same thing, okay?
in terms of the water?
Well,
that
there's
we're
the worry of
drinking?
grandchildren paying for it, and also the worry of what is actually happening. We cannot say directly if it's coming from the salt shed or from over-salting this whole area. Just bear with me. If we got, Chris, I feel you're passionate. I truly do.
I'm really trying not to be
I do.
passionate. By
Well, you are.
passion,
You are passionate.
Well, I am by nature a passionate person,
I get
but
it.
that implies that I'm not using my scientific background as well.
I think
been-
you are using this, you're making a very good point. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I think you're making a great.
And I think you're making a good point too. Like, the point he's making is that we don't have the well data 300 feet away at the salt shed to tell us whether or not that's contaminated or not. We don't have any soil samples at that site to tell us if it's contaminated or not. So you're correct. We don't know the answer to that question. So if we're asked that in a town meeting, we wouldn't be able to answer that without more data. So that's a no-brainer. That, we know what we don't know, okay?
We
And-
know with your work what there probably is,
Yeah,
but we don't know.
but again, unless you've got the data,
Right.
and I'm a scientist, I can't even tell you,
Right.
looking at the data, whether it's coming from there, okay? Because I don't have the data in front of me. I can tell you what's in the well 300 feet away. So I don't think anybody's disagreeing with
Oh, I know
that
that.
point, and I think that it's a valid concern if you're standing in front of the town, if you're asked these questions, it might not be a bad thing to be able to answer those questions, but understand that answering those questions are gonna cost money. A soil sampling plan that has, several sites and a frequency of sampling, we might not know this for a while because, again, we might not even have the answers to those for like another year. And that might be okay, because this whole thing probably isn't gonna be built for another 2 or 3 years. So those are the decisions that have to be made. So if you wanna spend the money to get more data, as a scientist, I would never say, no to that, but to the purpose of this committee, where our mission is to gather the information for the new site, that is the focus of our mission. So again, I think if we want to bring that to this committee, then we need to alter our purpose a little bit in our mission statement, and we need to decide if we want to come up with a subcommittee of people that would look at what a sampling plan would look like at the old site, how you would do it, how much it would cost. A person like me who has decades of sampling experience might be a good person to put on that committee. Whether or not I, want to put the energy into that right now remains to be seen. But I'm just saying, I'll just reiterate, you don't just take one sample and you get your answer. And even if we start sampling, we might not know for a year or two. So you have to ask yourself, to what end am I doing this? Do we really need to do this? Do we really want to do this? The town has voted and told us they want it moved. So my understanding is our mission is to get information about that. So at least we can talk about that. And then let's say we're able to talk about that and say, this is what a new shed would look like. And then if there's still a lot of questions, we can say, well, listen, we're still a year or two away. If you want us to spend more money on more sampling, we can do it. Maybe that's something the town, we could ask them if they want us to do that.
So I'm not gonna jump up and down and argue on the table, because you make very good points. Here's what I'd ask to negotiate with you in the following. I made 3 points of things we need to know. I have, even when these people come up to me, I say, I can discuss it with you, but please understand I've got to discuss it with my other 2 colleagues. I'm gonna take from the meeting tonight, and I've already talked about the information we have. We're gonna discuss with sincerity and in depth whether or not we wanna spend the money for the scientific people down in Concord, or put Addie's wells in, or we need to have that discussion amongst the 3 of us, because the town is looking for leadership from us to make that decision, if that makes sense. If we decide to put the wells in, we decide to put the wells in, and you're right. It might take 3 months, it might take 6 months, it might take 12 months. But I don't think we're gonna come to town meeting and have that salt shed built by June. And you have said that yourself.
Yeah.
I'm being a little bit humorous here with you.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be, because I know this town well enough. I've been here 30 years, and I was brought up on the other side of that mountain down there. I know small towns well enough that I'm gonna be asked that question. Well, what do we know 1 foot off that cement? And I can't answer that question. Having sat on the witness stand many times and being asked questions I could answer, I don't want to stand in front of that podium right there and not be able to answer that question.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Depending on how I answer it, Patty. I might
Yeah.
not be able to answer it totally, but I can answer it with some more content than what I have now.
Right,
Because I'm going to be the guy doing the presentation to support everything we're trying to do.
right.
So bear with me, have some patience with me. Let us get through this process of looking through what our attorney wanted to discuss with us, so we can bring it to you people and discuss it. That might have some answers in what we all, you, Addie, and me, and everybody else sitting here, are talking about, because we're looking for some answers legally too, if that makes sense. But I can't discuss those tonight, because I haven't had the chance to sit with the attorney and my 2 colleagues and have that discussion.
I'm interested in why there would be an attorney.
Well, I can't go there with
Involved
you
in-
tonight. We can explain it all to you next meeting.
Do you understand that? Is
Well, I think what there's the potential of in any sampling is that you could find contamination over there that you weren't prepared for
Without
And-
getting into it tonight.
without getting into it tonight, because we don't know the answers and whatever, so you could be potentially opening up a big can of worms and ending up with a Superfund site, so.
Which,
Yeah.
which when you.
That's the risk you take. If you, the more samples you get, might tell you what you wanna know, and it might tell you
What you don't wanna know.
know. So again, there needs to
let's
be
just leave it at
sampling
that,
to what
okay?
end, so yeah, we can.
Just leave it. Okay, bear with me. Chris, I think I don't make off-the-cuff decisions. I make pretty good decisions, and bear with me on it, trust me on it, and let's just get back to you.
Of course, that's assumed that we trust one another.
We do.
I just,
I don't wanna go down that rabbit hole tonight. I can't.
well, I don't know what the rabbit hole is. I don't know what you're talking about.
We'll explain it to you. liability. We'll explain it to you when we come back next meeting.
Okay,
Yeah,
Liability.
okay.
And
liability.
you can understand that being a former selectman, some things you just can't say.
Oh,
Yeah, because
Okay.
he's not prepared for it, and that's fine, we don't even have to have those answers right
Thank
now.
you. Trust me.
So I appreciate your insight and I appreciate your moderation, on the two sides of it.
Well, I think the world of
You know.
everybody at this table, your neighbors,
Yeah.
your friends, your
And-
colleagues.
And I'm not even
We need to work together.
poo-pooing what Addie brings to the table, because I like the fact that you
You gotta-
challenge
You
people
have
to
to
give you
have some
answers.
sort
I
of,
appreciate it.
for me to go, or him to stand up to Roy, because he's gonna need big shoulders at town meeting.
No
If he
kidding.
does not have any info, because I can guarantee you that.
Well, I think you all know I don't work with no info. That doesn't work.
That's, so,
I come informed.
this is what,
So,
and then if you've got the issues that everybody thinks there is there, then you got to do something, okay?
right. So
But-
my understanding then for the next meeting would be that, if we're gonna list some tasks for our agenda,
Report from the board.
a report from the board,
Report and decisions from the board. I
And
think
decisions
we're
from the
gonna make a
board.
decision on
Yeah.
the expense for fixing it. We're gonna make a decision on Emmett's suggestion on who we get up there and getting going. We gotta get that going before cold weather.
sure.
And the sooner
That's
the
gotta
better.
happen.
That'll
That's
help
gonna
big
happen.
time, and you can, or whoever will get us, the costs for repairing the old building with that report, that would be
Yep,
part
yep,
of that? Okay, so we'll get a lot of information on how we stabilize the building.
RFP update.
Perfect, yep, the RFP
Dana will
update.
be in to give you that. And who we're getting that out to, like you gentlemen mentioned, would be one of how many of us.
I might add that in that request for proposal, that we also put in a showing date. In other words,
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a
Showing.
great point.
Oh,
showing date, when we invite everybody to the site, we show them what we need, they ask questions, we answer what we know.
Can I ask you a question? That's what I did when I worked for Ruby, and everybody sort of looked at me like I was crazy, and guess what? I got some of the lowest prices you could ever believe. I believe in bringing everybody to the site at the same time, saying,
Yeah.
this is the project,
Yep.
we don't need to talk about what you're gonna charge us. But that way I could say, it's time to whittle that pencil, we need to, because your buddy over here said he'd do it for this.
Right.
So that's the way I appreciate it.
Well, yeah, and you don't want to be showing the site 10 times.
Point made, it's too much work.
It's too much work.
Thank you.
And the other point is that,
Would you do me a favor, and would you make a call to Dana probably Tuesday, give him time to get back in the office? I'm working the next couple of days, so if you'd be kind enough to call him and make that recommendation, say, we as a group felt that was a very good recommendation.
Okay.
He might have forgotten it, but he might not. I mean, he does a lot of these, so he might have it in there.
right.
I'd appreciate it.
And also a date when the proposal should be in, and a date when we make our decision.
Yep,
I mean, so that, I mean, there's, they need time to make
Right,
time to
but
make their proposal.
You guys, you gotta get it brushed out first,
Right.
and that just doesn't happen yesterday.
no.
Yeah.
So this could be, I mean, they may not even have time to do that for 3 weeks. If somebody wanted
Or
to
3
cut some
months.
lumber right now, I'd tell them next summer,
Yeah.
okay? So that's how it goes, they're busy with this stuff.
I think in March, if we can at least have enough information.
Yep, by
A
then.
proposal together to say to the town, we want to move this forward, this is the timeline it might take us to move, not move it, but build it, okay? And it might take us, as Roy said, another, it might go in a year 2, it might go in a year 3. But get the town's permission with the information, good information we have. We as a committee go to them, because I'm gonna call upon some of you when I make that presentation. And say, yeah, the information we got here, we think we've done the right thing, we think the town can afford this. We have that moment, and we have a yay instead of a nay, that we might be working more down the road to do things with the people that we look to help us do things. Does that make sense? The people we commit to.
Do you know if this was just brushing it down, or is it dozing it off?
Brushing it down,
Just-
is all that he's got a price for. The bulldozing it off, then you're gonna have to do some permits out there. And
I'm
and
not
then
a
the
DOT
thing
person.
is, that's not just gonna cost
I'm not a
$5,000-6,000.
There-
That's
there's-
gonna
That's a
cost
good
money.
question. I'm not, and I'm not you. You've got a lot more knowledge than I ever thought you had.
Well, I
This is
thought-
just somebody coming in.
Yeah, they're just
to mow it
gonna
off, and
mow the
excavate it
brush
or
off,
whatever.
yep, and
Chew it all
then
up.
You two women understand what that means.
that
Yeah,
way
it
they
is.
can
It
Okay,
is.
okay. Well, I didn't know if you did.
see what it is, and, I mean, it's, you should take some test pits too, before you get too carried away.
When I looked at the site, I saw some stumps in there.
Oh, yeah, no, that's,
They're not
it's
gonna-
rough, it's
They're gonna
not,
have to bulldoze that.
oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, but not yet. We're
Yeah.
just clearing this.
Yeah.
So you can
That
see
needs
what's.
to,
Right.
that's
Yeah,
gonna
if they
take,
cut, because we just walked it a couple months ago, so, you know, if they get that brush down, it's gonna be walkable enough where the people that are looking to propose will be able to see the lay of the land and figure, you know, they'll have the plot map with them, and they'll be able to go back and put their
And
stuff
they-
together.
they're gonna
It'll be a rugged walk, but it'll be easier than the walk we
yeah,
did,
and it'll have to
because
have
the
some
brush is real tight up there
test
right now.
pits to see
What year was that
they're
cleared?
working with.
Do you remember what year that was cleared?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I did the firehouse and I don't want no
Yeah,
part of
I can
anything.
tell you, my wife was on the committee. It was back in, we moved here in,
It would have been 2003.
yeah, we moved here,
So it's
we
20
moved here in
something years old.
96,
Yeah.
97.
Right.
Oh, that brush that's there is not 20 years old. but The
No.
guy went in and cut that. It's probably.
I'd say
Oh.
10, I'd say
Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah,
10 years.
yeah.
It's been 10, 12 years
Yeah. Yeah.
when we looked at the property to buy
Yeah,
it.
so we're getting
It
into
was
that, we're getting to
somewhat-
that hour period.
Yes.
Do I have consensus?
So, yeah, so we have consensus on, we're gonna get a report from the board, that's gonna include costs of repair of the old building,
Yep.
decisions about sampling, and potentially maybe some costs of their,
You're
of our
talking about the select board?
clearing. Yeah, the select board.
Okay.
And we'll have costs of clearing. So we're gonna know what we're about to spend.
Cost of clearing, cost of fixing?
Yeah,
We
and
gotta
then
fix it.
Decisions about sampling
Yeah.
after you talk to your lawyers.
And you know, the reality of the fact is how much time, how much money do we really want to sink in that?
Right.
We gotta do the immediate, and he's right, we gotta do the immediate, but you know, how much money over the years, if we were ever gonna think of keeping that there, how much money, we're gonna have to sink a lot of money.
Okay, and
So-
then, exactly.
And we can't build any more than what we gotta go through all this state stuff, so.
Right.
I could see the roadblocks coming up on that too, so.
So then, the second item on our agenda, next meeting, is gonna be the RFP update with the, and you'll
Yep.
take care of adding those, adding a showing date to it, the date that proposals should be in, and was there another date you wanted?
Decision date.
A decision date for decision, okay. So those three things, and, that's all I have for an agenda for next meeting. Anybody else think of anything else we need to work on in between now? And I guess we gotta pick a date for our next meeting,
Yeah,
right?
can we do this, can we keep it to a 2-week limit?
Good.
That's pushing it a little. I can't do the next 2 weeks. I got stuff
All right,
that's
so
happening at the
bear
farm.
with me a second. bear with
Yeah.
me. Next week is Labor Day, so that's off. The week after, let's go for a third week. Can we do a third week?
So,
So that'll
no,
give me time to meet with the board.
I got cows going to Freiburg Fair, so I can't.
I would suggest, since we're holding this meeting without everyone here, if somebody like you can't be here,
I'm sure you'd like it.
I'm not saying that, you add a little zest to the
Consensus,
conversation.
Eddie, consensus.
well, I'm just gonna throw it out there, it's the 27th now, so 3 weeks from today is the 17th.
How about a Tuesday night?
A Tuesday night would be the
Let's
15th,
do the 15th.
and that would be about 2 days shy,
Now,
3 days shy of 3 weeks.
we're missing a member tonight, we're missing Addie, we're missing Emmett, but we're missing, who's the young lady?
Mary Jo.
Mary Jo, she's very important to me.
So what we could do is ask Russ or Dana
When
to
will,
send an email
planning
out to
board-
everybody and ask them,
That's,
Like,
that's
I
gonna
told
be.
you
see if the
first.
15th works for everybody here,
I mean,
and if so, we'll see if the other people can join
the
us, and
first
if
is a
not,
Tuesday.
we'll
Yeah,
throw out
it's
some
gonna be-
different
Yeah,
days.
okay.
We know we wanna
Yeah.
stay away from Wednesdays.
So why don't you do me a favor? Why don't you be the one that works out with Russ, okay?
Okay, so potential for,
Yeah.
it's
First
gonna be
Tuesday.
Tuesday, September 15th. It's gonna be 6:30, and we'll send an email confirmation out to everybody, that, especially those that aren't here, for a next meeting date. And does that work with everybody here, Addie?
Possibly, it's hard saying with me, so we're gonna be putting in corn and stuff, so I don't know if I'm gonna make it or not.
Kinda late plant corn.
Cow corn. Then it's ready.
Thanks for pointing that out.
You're welcome.
I was gonna,
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like the next meeting is gonna, the big piece of it is gonna be the information we get back from the board, and then just confirming that our RFP is on track. So there won't be a lot for us to,
we are going to try to have
Decide
it
to-
will have to be a non-public, legal-related meeting in the next the next couple of weeks. We've got to have that so I can bring that, it's not something we can have public, it's got to be, it involves the three of us, and we've got to make some decisions to come back to you. That makes sense.
it sounds like a good plan.
I just have one other thing. I remember when you were talking about RFPs and all of that, we were trying to figure out, contacting all these different people, perhaps we could divide and conquer. And since what you gave us, or what John now has from, it had 5 questions or so on it that could be asked of every single person from whom we derive an RFP. Do you understand where I'm going with
Yes.
this? I would like to participate in helping on this committee, other than just showing up to this. I'm willing.
Well, let's get the RFP back, and that's
Yeah,
fine.
the request for proposal has qualifications, you know. They have to have worked on projects. and-
So we're just gonna shoot those out there?
Yeah, yeah, you're not gonna, the way this works is you don't go around and contact them and say, you know, have you done this, whatever. You send it out, some of them are not even gonna respond because they're busy, they don't have the staff, you know, whatever. They're on vacation,
It knocked off the list.
they're
Well,
So,
on the list.
so you send it out.
Screwed up a state
and we'll see who shows up.
I guess I'm on the list.
And in the meantime, the guy Scott at UNH is looking at the RFP to have more suggestions. And
But you can definitely be assigned going to the meetings, assign yourself with a team here, going to the meeting, because all of us aren't gonna be able to be at these meetings. And it might be good for you to be at the meeting with Dana and whoever else is at the meeting when they meet at the site up here, maybe we all should be there. Again, a decision in time to be made, because I don't see that happening before October, if that makes sense.
Well, I would also suggest that any meeting between a member of the select board on this topic and one of us should become public for all of us. So I didn't know that Addie had met with you, and I'm really interested in how that
We
conversation.
didn't,
We didn't meet,
we didn't meet.
I thought,
we had a conversation on the road.
Yeah. He was in the
I'm
way
jogging.
jogging, and I did not run him over with a log truck.
good.
So,
It's a good
he
first step.
made it another
We didn't have
time.
any meeting, we just talked about it,
Okay,
and,
okay.
you know, listening to the passion, listen, like your passion, I talk to you, right? Do you wanna have a public meeting on it? No. What I'm saying to you is, we wanna have conversation, I have conversations with Peg, I talk to Roy,
No, I understand, I understand.
People come to me, and as they do every board member, and talk to us, Chris, like they did to you.
He needed cordwood.
Right.
He's putting his wood away, needs some more.
So I make a motion that we
Adjourn.
adjourn.
Yep.
Oh, you didn't want public comment? I know.
Oh, you have
Good
something?
night, no. I think you're doing a good job. Like I said, strategic plan, and you're pretty well covering it. You know, you
It
got the
will be.
goals and so forth.
When it's time to go to the town,
Yep.
it will be.
yeah,
But right
that's the
today,
plan.
it's not.
Right,
We're gonna know a lot more than we know now.
that's it.
Okay,
Consensus, people.
thank you. We'll see you.
Thank you, folks.
Yep.
New dungarees too?
No. They're old, I just didn't wear them. All
Oh,
the other ones are covered with oil.
Or something else.
Yeah, yeah.
Do we need to do anything to
Yeah, I
put
know what
this
you were
now?
saying.
No, we're good.
This is the way it stays.
The actual puddle of water way down, how deep that one is.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think the
Because
state might know, because they did the mapping, so
Yeah.
I can find out. They also can tell you, like, the general, for each aquifer, the
Yeah.
general size of it.
Yeah.
So they have mapped out the shape of it, because
Yeah.
they use the sonar stuff to do that.
Actually, I was in it, Health and Human